Hello and welcome back to another whiskey review with me, Danny. Today we are looking at our first Australian whiskey from the other side of the planet. It's called Starwood Nova, and it's a single malt whiskey, which obviously means it was made in one distillery, which is very interesting because I'm about to describe the story to you. It was actually made from Australian malted barley and only matured for 3 years, but bear with me because this actually tastes better than you might think. It then spent 3 years maturing in Melbourne, Australia in wine casks, some of which were actually from Australia's greatest known wineries, including Yalumpa, Penfolds and Wynns, which you've probably heard about if you know a little bit about wine or you've tasted Australian wine before. Those brands probably ring a bell. The oak barrels used there were a mixture of American, French and Eastern European oak that previously held some staple wines like Shiraz, Cabernet and Pinot Noir. So there may actually be some flavours in this whiskey that you're actually familiar with if you've tasted those wines before. But why am I telling you this? Well, obviously we don't drink wine here. No, we don't. But the interesting thing about Starwood is that the wine cask the whiskey was put in, before it was put in, the whiskey barrels weren't actually charred, which means it was just put into these fresh wine casks, which means it gets a lot of those same flavour profiles that the wine actually had. So if you like wine, you're probably going to like this whiskey, or if you're like introducing someone to whiskey who likes wine, maybe this is a good one for them. I always like to talk about the story and process before we go into actually tasting the whiskey, because I find it really increases your understanding of where those flavors came from, and that's kind of what this channel is about. So if you're interested in watching more whiskey reviews like this, please go ahead and subscribe and press the bell icon. And because this was obviously made in Melbourne, Australia, the climate is really strange. Temperatures seem to fluctuate between really hot and really cold at night, so this results in the whiskey actually maturing faster than it would in, say, for example, Scotland, because Scotland is just, well, I've been there, it's consistently cold, wet and dreary, but it's obviously great for whiskey, and the whiskey brewed there is going to have very different properties, which is why Starwood whiskey was only brewed for 3 years, compared to other whiskies that might try and get the same properties would be brewed for a lot longer in just a cold environment. But because of the fluctuation in heat that we get in Melbourne, that whiskey's breathing even more in and out of the oak barrel. So you get a lot more woody notes in theory. This whiskey would taste a lot more woody than others. And so if you left it in the barrel for say 10 years, then it becomes quite problematic, because then your whiskey just becomes overwooded and it's not really a nice flavour property anymore if it's, you know, overdone like that. So it's kind of like leaving something in the oven too long. So I find Australian whiskies in general to be quite hit and miss, but now we're going to open this one up and actually try it for ourselves. If you guys haven't seen my... Gosh, I can never... Honestly, these tags always fall off, and I clearly there's like some kind of way to open these things, but I always reliably fail. So I've got like some nail scissors here, and I'm just going to open it up with that. So colour wise, you can see it's got this quite dark sort of golden amber colour to it, which is very nice. And to be honest, I reckon that's probably realistic, just because of the amount of times that whiskey's been in and out of the wood during its natural maturing process. So I really wouldn't be surprised. But let's have a look on the nose here. So I immediately get a lot of red berries. It's very sweet. It's quite pleasurable to sniff, actually. It does remind me of wine. In fact, I think I'm getting some port in there as well. Figs, but also a little bit of spiciness. There's something to it. I don't really know where that's from, but there's a little bit of a nice kick to it as well. So let's have a taste. Wow. That's really... It's quite funky. It's quite different. It's again, you get the red berries immediately. It's got a nice subtle warmth to the finish. It does linger in your mouth though. It's actually really good. It's very much like a dessert wine, but in whiskey form, which I find quite enchanting. On the palate as well. I am starting to pick up those woody undertones a little bit of sandalwood, actually. It's very pleasant though. and it's not overpowering. It's kind of, you get all the fruity red fruits, berries, immediately, very dessert-based whiskey. And then it's still very sweet, but then you get that nice woody undertone that kind of balances it out and makes it like, you know, like a well-rounded whiskey that's very, very easy to drink. I would very much like to just have like a nice steak meal and finish off with this. This would be great. I am interested though. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some water. So I'm going to pour a bit back into the glass because I obviously want to enjoy this. And I'm going to grab my international unit of measurement, the teaspoon. You'll have one at home, you know. It's the most convenient thing for many of us. If you're not a fancy boy, I'm just going to add like a little bit of water just to water it down from 41% to around 35%. Just a little drop of water, basically. You can kind of see again. And we're going to take that and we're going to let it sit for a while, and then we're going to take it. I'm actually getting a bit of nuttiness now. And a lot more port. Oh, wow. Those red berries are really coming through, though. It almost becomes sweeter. The aftertaste becomes a bit more woody. It's still nice to drink, though. Yeah, no. So price-wise, obviously it depends where you are in the world, because to me, Australia is on the other side of the world to the UK pretty much. Well, New Zealand's directly opposite, and then that's next to Australia. So this, I think, is around £40 or £50 in the UK, or from the other side of the world. I think that's quite good. Obviously, it's only been matured for 3 years. So in terms of value for money, it's quite an odd one because you're buying what is quite a young whiskey, but it's got such interesting flavour notes that it doesn't taste like a 3-year-old cheap whiskey that's been blended from Scotland or something. You know, it's something very different. So it's quite hard to tell you, like, value for money wise, if it's worth it or not. But I would honestly like say try an Australian whiskey, and why not try this one? I mean, it's really interesting. And honestly, if you like sweet whiskies, if you like red berries, and maybe you like whiskies that have been matured in sherry cask, then I'd say give it a go. And guys, if you want to check out any of these things, I'll link them down below in the description so you can find them for yourself. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, subscribe, press the bell icon, and YouTube will let you know when the next episode comes out. We do it every Saturday. We sit down and we do these videos, and it's become kind of like a weekly little fun thing for me to do. And I always enjoy your feedback and your thoughts in the comment section. Maybe you got something else from the whiskey, or you have an understanding of why there's a certain flavour note because of part of the process of how it's been made. Let me know in the comment section. I'm always keen to learn more. This is very much a learning process for me as well, and I'm just sharing my experiences with you. So yeah, really open-minded person. Just let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.